When Fabrizio Romano confirmed that Thomas Partey would leave Arsenal on July 1st, 2025, many fans couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness. The Ghanaian midfielder had just completed his best season since joining the club, playing a crucial role in Arsenal's second-place Premier League finish and their run to the Champions League semi-finals. And yet, Arsenal let him go. Surprisingly, it was the club, not the player, that chose to walk away after weeks of negotiations failed to produce a contract extension. And while the summer transfer window swirled with big names and blockbuster moves, Arsenal quietly made a move of their own, signing Christian Nørgaard. At first glance, it seemed like a stopgap signing, nothing flashy. But look closer and you'll see the method in the madness. Low cost, low risk, instant impact, and the perfect addition to Arteta's rotational system. There's no need to rehash Partey's pedigree in red and white. There was a time, especially during the 2022-23 season, when Partey was an irreplaceable cog in Arsenal's midfield, forming a powerful triangle alongside Granit Xhaka and Martin Ødegaard. But his Arsenal journey was anything but smooth. His brilliant performances were often interrupted by a litany of injuries: hamstring, groin, thigh. Every time he hit top form, Arsenal were left holding their breath, only for Partey to break down again. The system had to be reshuffled, the momentum stalled. Take the 2023-24 season, full of promise at the start, but Partey only played 16 matches across all competitions, sidelined by yet another long-term issue. It wasn't until the 2024-25 campaign that Partey truly returned to form, featuring in 52 matches, scoring 4 goals and providing 3 assists. In key fixtures against Manchester City at the Etihad, or in that titanic clash with Real Madrid in the Champions League, he reminded everyone of his elite quality. But was it enough? For a club that's now building towards long-term stability and financial discipline, the answer was clear: no. One standout season cannot erase 3 years of inconsistency. A handful of big games can't quiet the lingering concerns over his fitness. Arsenal tried to keep him. Arteta reportedly supported a 1-year extension. But things are no longer that simple. Tactically, Thomas Partey is still a top midfielder. Professionally, he's a model athlete. But from a management perspective, his departure was a systemic decision, not a personal one. Behind it lie 3 fundamental reasons, all rooted in the way Arsenal now operates. First, the reality of his injury record. In just 4 seasons, Partey missed over 60 matches. At 32, with a history of recurring issues in his groin and thigh, the risk of relapse is no longer manageable. In Arteta's high-intensity system, a holding midfielder who can't cover ground is a liability. And slowly but surely, Partey began losing pace, needing more touches, and getting overshadowed by Declan Rice as the midfield conductor. When your season can stretch to 60 to 65 games, availability becomes as important as ability. Second, the financial burden. Partey was already earning £180,000 per week, and during contract talks, his camp asked for more than Arsenal felt comfortable paying for a player no longer at his peak. After the painful lessons of Mesut Ozil and Aubameyang, Arsenal no longer overpays for the past. They're happy to splash the cash for players like Rice or Saka because they're in their prime and foundational to the club's future. But for a player nearing the twilight of his career, the club only offered a salary that matched a rotational role. Partey understood that, but wasn't willing to settle, and so the 2 sides parted ways. Elsewhere, interest is growing. Top clubs in Turkey and the Saudi Pro League are circling, with at least one side ready to offer Partey a higher salary than he earned at the Emirates. Even FC Barcelona reportedly considered him, a veteran presence to deepen their midfield, especially as they restructure on a tight budget. But Arsenal didn't view Partey's exit in isolation. They saw it as part of a larger strategy. The club has transitioned from a model of buy stars and hope to one of smart additions and sustainable growth. And that's exactly why Nørgaard was brought in. He doesn't light up headlines like Rice or Zubimendi, but he's the kind of signing that makes more sense the more you think about it. At just £9.6 million and a reported wage of €60,000 per week, Nørgaard is a financially shrewd solution. He costs a fraction of Partey, both in fee and salary, yet still offers enough quality to start when needed, and the humility to accept a rotational role. What Arsenal needed was someone who doesn't need time to adapt, doesn't demand to be the focal point, and doesn't disrupt the wage structure. Nørgaard checks every box. He knows the Premier League. He knows exactly why he's at Arsenal. No ego, no pressure, just purpose. Technically, Nørgaard isn't flashy. He lacks Ødegaard's vision or Partey's peak-time precision. But what he does bring is exactly what a pure number 6 must. Game reading, interceptions, defensive cover, and first-phase build-up. According to Canon stats, Nørgaard had better defensive metrics in tackles, interceptions, and blocked passes than even Declan Rice, Zubimendi, and Agume. In 2024, he played 34 Premier League games, nearly 3,000 minutes, scored 5 goals, received 8 yellow cards and 1 red, a testament to his tenacity without recklessness. While he's not a playmaker, he has a clear habit: early, accurate passes to break lines, something Thomas Frank's Brentford thrived on, and something Arsenal can deploy to accelerate transitions. But perhaps Nørgaard's most underrated asset is his experience. Unlike Agume, Nørgaard has already played 5 straight Premier League seasons. He helped Brentford gain promotion, survive relegation, and stabilize mid-table. He was their captain, the link between coach and players, and the engine behind their midfield pressing. Inside Arsenal's dressing room, a presence like Nørgaard's is invaluable, especially in February-March, when young players start to tire. He doesn't need to talk much. He just needs to stand firm. That's the kind of player every title-contending team needs. And then there's the economics. Nørgaard's arrival preserves Arsenal's financial firepower for the big swings. A top striker, a world-class winger, or a new centre-back. There was no need to burn £40 to £50 million on another rotational midfielder when Zubimendi is already set to play the leading role. This signing also avoids a domino effect across the squad. It's clean, it's efficient, and it's perfectly timed. Some decisions in football don't make headlines. They don't set social media ablaze. But when the season ends, they reveal themselves as crucial pieces in a much larger puzzle. Letting Partey go and bringing in Christian Nørgaard was one of those moves. It wasn't glamorous, but it was calculated, grounded, and aligned with the vision Mikel Arteta is building at the Emirates. Arsenal didn't move on from Partey because he had no value left. They moved on because that value no longer fit the new framework, a team built on durability, flexibility, and financial balance. Partey remains a top-class midfielder, but with a high wage, injury risks, and the need for a starring role, he no longer fits the mold. Nørgaard, by contrast, isn't here to raise the ceiling. He's here to solidify the floor, to keep Arsenal from slipping when rotation is needed, to make sure the rhythm never falters. At £9.6 million, it's a signing that's quick, economical, and smart. And beyond the numbers, it signals something bigger. Arsenal have matured. They're no longer driven by hype or sentiment. They know who to keep, who to release, and how much is truly enough for each role. Signings like Nørgaard allow the club to channel its energy toward the players who matter most. Zubimendi, a marquee striker, a commanding centre-back, the kind of difference-makers who can determine an entire season. Because at the top level, football is not just a game of stars. It's a chess match where even the pawns, when placed right, can define the outcome. And if Christian Nørgaard does what he's been brought in to do, then the departure of Thomas Partey, while bittersweet, won't be a worry at all.